Listen to Desert Radio wherever you are in the world by streaming live on desertradio.fm. 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 Desert Radio.
We are on the 40-minute run all the way until 8:40. We are joined by Michael Amushelelo. Michael, good morning to you.
Morning, Calvin. It's a pleasure to always be here.
Yes, once again, the weekend was quite a busy one for you. Social media was abuzz with reports that, people are being mobilized. They've assembled in Otjomuise, and there's something about houses happening there. The police got involved. I was told that the police had to have meetings with you and get you out of it. What happened?
So, on Saturday, we had a planned event whereby we were going to register the people who are interested in those vacant mess houses. Now, part of this registration...
Are these the mass houses from the...
from the era, yes.
Right.
These are the very same mess houses were promised in 2014. Now we're in 2024, and some of those houses have not yet been delivered. So people started gathering there as early as 3 o'clock in the morning. Some even went earlier as 2 o'clock in the morning. And eventually there was a massive police presence there. I was not there at the scene from the morning time because the registration was planned to start at 12 until 1900 hours in the evening. So eventually the station commander of Otjomuise started giving me a call saying that, no, you should come, your people are here, it's an illegal gathering. I said, no, Chief, there is no such thing as an illegal gathering. But I'm on my way, just give me about 30 minutes because I'm busy with another community engagement in Tobias Hanyeko. But just be patient and all of that. So the police then started intimidating our people, started harassing them, and started chasing them away. Now, eventually, I managed to get there to Otjomuise Extension 10. I saw all the station commanders of the 4 major stations we have in Windhoek. The Vananda station commander was there. The Windhoek police station was there. The Katutura police station commander was there, as well as the Otjomuise station commander. We also had some few deputy commissioners who are in charge of the special field force. So the police had assembled an army. I saw even some of their chief wings from the Air Force. These are the guys responsible for the helicopters. These are the guys responsible for the police drones and all of that. They were all there. So eventually when I got there, we said, no, what's the issue here? And the station commander, I must commend him, the Otjomuise station commander, very, very wise gentleman. He said, you know what, let us quickly go to my office. Let us go have a meeting. Let us go have an engagement and see how we can resolve about this issue.
There are some people that feel that you were treated with special gloves there. Some people feel that you should have been arrested.
Arrested for what? You see, people misunderstand the duties and functions of the police. The duties and functions of the police is there to be able to protect the community, to protect the public, as well as properties. But the first and foremost is for them to be able to protect us, the public.
Right.
Now, there was nothing of the sort on towards where we were instigating anyone to occupy houses on the 10th or anything of the sort, because the occupation date is on the 29th of February. So it's not about being treated with special gloves or anything of the sort. You know very well for a fact that in this country, the police has never treated me with special gloves. In fact, at any instance, they are more than willing to arrest me if their orders come through to say, arrest Amushelelo. So there's no way people can come and assume that I've been treated with special gloves or anything of the sort. But it's just that there was nothing violent or anything of the sort, so there was no need for me to be arrested or anything of the sort. So eventually we got to that meeting. Superior logic obviously prevailed. We were able to convince the station commander to say that, listen here, we're not doing anything onwards. What we're trying to do here is obviously establish a database of exactly how many people need housing. We need to establish the database so that on the 29th, we don't have a chaotic situation where you have about 20,000 people trying to occupy 300 or 400 houses. Then it's going to be a chaotic situation because now people are going to be fighting to say, yes, this is my house, this is what. So that's why we said, let's establish a database. Let us see exactly how many people need housing. Now, on that fateful day, we managed to register over 6,000 people. Now,
is that over the weekend?
That's over the weekend, just on the 10th. We registered over 6,000 people. So already that amount gives us an indication that we have too many people who need accommodation, who need housing, who need land, and already that is an clear indication that the housing crisis has not yet been resolved. And this is a crisis that's been impending for years. I mean, I think for many years, it's just become one of those key buzzwords for election. And then after elections, it's like we forget that people still live in shacks. People still don't live dignified lives and things of that sort. And that is why we're saying to say that on the 29th of February, we are going to occupy those houses. Now, the government has two options here. It's either going to be a peaceful occupation or it's going to be a forceful occupation.
So how does it work? You're going to be giving people houses, enter there, you enter there, you enter there.
Yes, so what we've done with the database is we've been now able to see how many people have registered, what are the ages, and so forth. So the old people are going to get the first preference of the houses. Now, the reason why we're going to give the old people the preference is because old people are much more accommodative of everyone. Because most of us, we send our grandchildren to where? We send them to our grandmothers. Now, if we give the houses, obviously, to a 21-year-old and 18-year-old, this one would most probably just want to party. He would not even want to accommodate others and things of that sort. So that's why we're saying the old people are going to get the first preference of occupying these houses.
And then before you can do that, you have to walk over the dead body of the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development. I'm not saying that is a dead ministry, metaphorically speaking.
Yes.
You have to walk through our dead body. Have you been in touch with Erastus Utoni, with Daniel Ngidinwa, the executive director there? Are you going to be in touch? Have they reached out to you? Because there's no way you can proceed with that without them saying, but what are you doing?
No. So that's why we're saying the government, and in particular those relevant ministries, they have until the 28th to come back to us and say, guys, let us work out a practical solution on how those houses can be occupied. So if they don't come back to us by the 28th, then unfortunately on the 29th, we are going to occupy those houses. So they have an option until the 28th to say that, okay, we already have a list of people who have applied for these houses through the NHE or through municipality and so forth. So these are the people that we are going to then obviously allow them to occupy those houses. And that's essentially what we want, because we cannot have a situation where you have got houses for the last 10 years that are just vacant. Why are those houses vacant? It clearly demonstrates that the current government is failing our people, it's failing itself, and it's just making itself look like government is being run by mediocre. And unfortunately, we do not want a government of mediocre. We want a government that's serious about addressing real issues affecting our people. And that is why if the government is failing to govern, we the people will govern ourselves.
Realistically speaking, do you see yourself being successful? I'm asking this because there are some that are saying this could be in two parts from you. Mm-hmm. It could be a political symbol to alert and to remind the powers that be that you do have this and you're not doing anything about it, so I'll make noise to remind you. Another part of it, people are saying this could just be yet another political gimmick from you, for you there. How successful do you see yourself really being, especially considering the fact that if you are to put people in those houses, definitely they can just be evicted?
Mm-hmm. No. So here's the thing. The eviction process is quite... it's not an easy process where you just evict people. Government would now have to go to court, and we are going to obviously have to battle them in court. I've already instructed our lawyers, Kadila Amomo, from Kadila Amomo Legal Practitioners, to be on standby to make sure that we defend our people once they've moved into those houses. So it's not just going to be a walk in the park for government to evict those people out of the houses. But the symbolic thing that we're trying to do here is to say that we have a housing crisis that's not being addressed. It's being ignored. So the powers that be must be reminded, must be kept on their toes to say that you are the people who have the responsibility. Now, Article 95 of the Namibian Constitution speaks about the promotion of the social welfare of the people. Now, what does social welfare mean? It means that people must have decent houses. People must be able to access their toilets without them necessarily using the bush. People must have access to electricity. They must have access to water. And they must be able to live dignified lives. I mean, I'm not just quite sure because I've got now things mixed up. There's an article that speaks about the dignity of the Namibian person and that it's unavoidable, meaning that I cannot take away your dignity. Now, do you think there's any dignity in a child having to wake up early in the morning and having to pick up a bucket of waste, human waste, in order for that child to go throw away that bucket of human waste? There is no dignity in that.
All right. So let's shift gear a little bit. We do have 9 minutes ahead of us there. So we are in mourning right now. President Hage Geingob is passed on, and he's a president that you were so critical of during the time that he was alive.
Yes.
How do you see his life and career in retrospect at this point?
On that particular Saturday when we were having the meeting, people were like, yeah, but we are now in a state of mourning and the president is dead. I'm like, yes, we are in a state of mourning, but the very same president that we are mourning is the very same president that said that he doesn't want to see sheikhs. So I think it will be much more befitting if we continue with this process of registering people and getting these people into houses. That, for me, would be a much more befitting gift to Geingob, seeing that I've been critical of his government all these years. So I think it's up to us as a people and as a nation to say that what is it that we draw lessons from? What is it that we now are able to do in order for us to move this country forward? Obviously, I do not want to speak much on the life of Geingob. I always tell people that even a murderer becomes a saint during death. Even a rapist is treated with the utmost best of gloves. It's just the nature of how we Africans are, whereby we respect the dead.
What exactly does that mean?
That simply means that a thief in his death will still be praised and say that this was a very good person.
So what do you mean by that?
It is what it is. I mean, it's simply to say that once you're dead, Calvin, it's the only time people are going to have any form of respect towards you. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're a good person or whether you're a bad person, but in death, everyone becomes a good person. And that's why you'll realize that when someone dies, we all pray over them so that somehow their souls are able to make it to heaven. And that's why when someone is dead, we say them as rest in peace. But unfortunately, we do not want people to live in peace. So that's the sad reality.
All right. So the president's body won't be sent to the regions anymore. You've been quite critical of that.
It's a sad and it's a shame that for a president who obviously championed town hall meetings, went from town to town speaking to his people, we as a country are now no longer going to be able to say goodbye to him because there is someone in Okongwati or there is someone in Ludret who won't be able to make it to the funeral which is going to take place here in Windhoek. So I think the government still has enough time to make a last-minute decision and say, let us send Geingob in a befitting way. And I'm sure he would have loved that. I mean, because we can be critical of Geingob, but the fact is that when he rise to power with 83% majority of the vote.
Were you part of that majority?
I was part of that majority back in 2014. It was in 2014 when we voted for him. I was part of that because, you make no doubt, Geingob is a very charismatic leader. He knows how to wow you. He knows how to obviously be able to leave a lasting impression on you. So despite the fact that we had our differences, I mean, he was a political genius. I mean, for someone who in 2004 was removed from his portfolio as a prime minister, goes away for a few years and comes and dribbles some of these guys who have been in government for a number of years. It just shows that it took a level of genius on his part to be able to do that. And we cannot take away his greatness. No matter how critical we want to be of him, there are certain elements of him that are going to be celebrated, are going to be remembered. In fact, I, for one, am going to try and read that playbook, try and study it. In fact, scholars must be able to write about how he was. I mean, he's the Machiavelli of our time. If we have to be honest.
You have read Machiavelli?
I've read Machiavelli. I mean, only unwise people would not read Machiavelli. And that's why most probably right now when we're having this conversation, people are like, what are these two talking about Tupac? Why are they having a discussion about Tupac?
A genius indeed. You need to read Machiavelli, definitely. And of course, that's where we have the word Machiavellian tactics.
Yes.
All right. So, but yes, we have lost a leader, yes. We have lost a man who also had traits that even his fiercest of critics could also look at and say, well, that's quite commendable.
Yes.
We can only learn from people that we disagree with, don't we? But during the time that you were antagonizing each other, or you were antagonizing him, were you also very conscious of the fact that you're dealing with a genius here?
No. I mean, you see, one thing I should admire about Geingob is never to respond to your critics.
He never responded to you?
most of the times, not even just to me, to most of the people who would criticize him. I mean, he would now and then, because obviously when you're surrounded by not so wise people, you'd get them responding to issues that should not have been responded to in the first place.
But he did respond to some of the issues.
Some of them
problems with political analysts.
Not necessarily political analysts, but I'm saying it's now and then. But he understood to say that if he's going to respond to an issue, then he's basically stepping to your level. And he never wanted to be on any one of our levels, because he understood to say that the moment you respond to a particular critic, you then obviously give this person some certain level of significance. And he was quite good at not giving significance to anyone.
Lastly, Emma Theophilus, the youngest cabinet minister on the continent of Africa, now Minister of ICT. Is this the signal? Is this the moment of young people now? Slowly, steadily, in a very evolutionary way? Is this the beginning of the parliamentary evolution?
Not, you see, it's good that we advocate for young people to take a position, but we must also advocate for competent young people. It's not just about, having young people, because we can have young people filling parliament, we can be having young people filling cabinet, but these people are not competent. These people are not able to deliver on certain tasks. And I think what is important is to say that let us get the most competent people. Now, whether this person is 45 years old, whether this person is 50, whether this person is 60, but I don't want anyone above 60 to be occupying these positions of power, because we have a clear policy that says that retirement is at 60. So we must be able to respect that, irrespective of whether you are in politics or whether you are an office bearer elected into. We must be able to say that office bearers must only be at 60, unless we're then going to change the policy and say that everyone else then should work until they're 82 and work themselves to death, because unfortunately that is what's currently happening to most of our African leaders. They stay too long in power, and as a result, many of them end up dying in seats where they're supposed to be home resting with their children.
Michael, thank you so much for the time that you gave us. We do appreciate you.
It's always a pleasure, Kelvin.
That's right. That's Michael Amushelelo there, of course, registering people for the mass houses over the weekend, dealing with the police, and, of course, now his sentiments on President Hage Geingob.
Listen to Desert Radio wherever you are in the world by streaming live on desertradio.fm. 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 Desertradio.fm.